Explore the idea of finding the volumes using the disk or the washer method when the graph is moving revolving around some y equals to a or x equals to b, means along the y-axis or x-axis, but when it is not particularly on the origin but at certain points. So in the previous video, I already have explained and we have checked uh, one example. Let's try to solve more example to understand the concept. Okay, so find the volume of a solid generated by revolving the region bounded by y equals to root x and y equals to 0, where x equals to 4 about the vertical line x equals to 5. So I would prefer if we just sketch the graph to understand it. But once you will understand this one, if they are not asking you to sketch the graph, no need to sketch the graph. Okay. So y equals to root x. So for example, if I am trying to make a table x and y, okay, so y equals to root x. So for example, if I take x equals to 0, so y will be square root of 0, which will gives me 1. If I take the value of x as 1, so square root of 1, I will get 1. I know that the square root of 4 would be easier because x equals to 4. So square root of 4 equals to 2. Maybe you might ask me that why I have taken x equals to 4 after jumping 2 or 3. Because I see that the last point which they are giving me is x equals to 4. So let's try to find out 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now here it is 1 and this is 2. So x on the 0 it is 0, on the 1 it is 1 and on the 4 it is 2. So we get a graph like this. Now here another thing which they are asking me or they are telling me that y equals to 0. So y equals to 0. So of course this line is y equals to 0 and this is y equals to square root of x. Now x equals to 4. Where is x equals to 4? I may see that x equals to 4 is a vertical line over here. Okay. So now what I am trying to do, I have to find out, I have to read this graph. Okay. I have to read this graph. Okay. Now read more. They are saying that this graph is revolving about the vertical line x equals to 5. So where is 5? The 5 is here. So this graph is revolving round this 5. Means this is the axis of revolution. So you can see, if you can imagine that if this vertical line is a mirror and the equation and this graph is going to be revolved around this one, so how does this will look like? So just for a imaginary thing, I am saying that this could be the new graph which it would look like. But right now my problem or my concern is not how it is rotation or its image is not my concern. My concern is the actual graph. Now try to understand the graph and read the graph very closely. So you can see that this here we can use our washer method. Okay, so if I am saying washer method, now look at this one. This is the axis of revolution, this line, right? So if it is the axis of revolution, it means that the graph will revolve round a vertical line, so y-axis. So if it is the y-axis, so I know this that the equations should be written in the form of x equals to f of y. Okay, so let's try to understand. So here the first equation, y equals to square root of x is written, I have to write it in the form of x equals to something. So I will take the square on both sides. I will get x equals to y square. So this is my first equation. And what is my second equation? My second equation is x equals to 4. Okay. Now, what are the y values? We will check what are the y values or what would be the y values. Now, try to understand this thing. Okay, very likely try to understand. Here, I will have, since it is written in the form of y, so it means that some action power 2 minus the other graph power 2 and dy. And here I will have the pi over here. So this is the formula for the y, for the volume. Now understand this very more deeply. In other words, whenever and the axis of rotation is certain y, so rather than understanding only right minus left, when it is not the origin, but it is revolving around some certain line, that remember that farther square minus nearer square. It means outer region minus near region or inner region. So understand this one. Here it is the axis of revolution. What is the farther graph? The farther graph is this graph. Yani this equation, the equation of this graph is square root of x. But this is not directly you are coming on root x. Okay, so the distance from here all the way around here is 5. Why it is 5? It is given that the new line, the vertical line is 5. So the axis of revolution from the distance from the axis of revolution till this origin is 5. So, but you have to, when you read the graph from left to right. So, all the way graph from 5, but whenever you have to go till here, means the graph is here. It means 5 minus graph. What is the graph? The graph is y square. The curve equation is y square. Minus what? What is the nearest part? Nearest part is this line. This line is what? X equals to 4. So you know that all the way from there, yani from the axis of revolution till this origin, the value is 5 minus, but the inner circle or the inner region is only 4. So 5 minus 4 whole square. So the farthest region power 2 minus inner region or closest region power 2. If the distance of the revolution from the axis of revolution to the distance, it is 5. So 5 minus graph minus 5 minus inner region. So look at this, read it and check it how much it is equal to. So now the equations here, the regions, yani the upper and the lower limit are from 0 y equals to 0, it is written from 0 till here, okay, the highest point, which is equals to 2, from 0 till 2. Now write it in the calculator and get the answer. After the decimal, there should be 3 digits and the last digit should be round off. So the answer will be 87.127. Actually, it was 68 and when I round off, it becomes 7. Try to understand this graph, this kind of the question more clearly in the other part. So find the volume of the solid generated by revolving the region enclosed by the x-axis, the line x equals to 3 and the curve y equals to root x. You can see that again the same question. So you can understand you can understand by this, by understanding the same graph. Let's make like this because, okay, here. Okay, now here the line y equals to 4. It is rotated along the y equals to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4 is like this. So this would be the line for the axis of rotation. Now graph y equals to root x. So y equals to root x, we saw already. At the 0, answer is 0. At the 1, it is 1. At the 2, it is 4. At the 4 it is 2. Sorry, at the 4 it is 2. But here x equals to 3. So x equals to, here is the 3. So when you write square root of 3, it would be something like 1.7. So anyway, it is here. We get the graph like this. It is a kind of a messy, but try to understand. Okay, x equal, and now this is the equation, y equals to root x equals to 3. So x equals to 3. It is a kind of this graph. Now you have to read the graph from this side, this shaded part. And the axis of revolution is here. Y equals to 4. Now, if you will rotate it, imagine when you will rotate this graph, so you will get a graph like this, right? You will get a graph like this. But again, my main concern is to look at this graph. Okay. Now, since it is moving along the x-axis, because along this horizontal line, it means it will move along the x-axis. So my volume will be written in the form of y equals to f of x. So the curve already is given. The other y we have to see. Now read this thing. So what we have learned from the previous, that volume equals to pi, outer region or the farther square minus nearer square. Since it is revolving along a horizontal line, so that's why it has to be written as dx. Okay, now dx, it means that you have to write the x values. Okay, so you have to write the x values. X values are written from where? From 0 till 3. So we will write here v equals to pi from 0 till 3. Now equation and this equation and here dx. So which one is the farthest one? So look at this. This is the farthest from this line. So where? From here till here. Right? What is this? This is actually y equals to 0. Okay, this line is actually y equals to 0. We know this one. Okay, now what is the distance? It is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So from here till here, the distance, total distance from here till here is 4. Now look at this. But the thing is that we don't go like this. Okay, we don't go from the axis of revolution. We don't read the graph from up to down, but we read the graph from down to up. So if we go from here till here, so this is 0 and this is what? 4, right? So from here till here, what is the total distance? The total distance is 4. So 4 minus 0. Because this part is not included. So out of the 4, we just remove the 0. Now what is the other graph? The other graph is this one. This is the nearest part. So nearest part is square root of x. So total distance from the axis of rotation till the graph is, it is 4 minus square root of x. Now write this in the calculator to get our answer. So it is 72.925. 72.925. Let's try to understand. Okay, let's try to understand this question. Again, find the volume of the solid generated by revolving the region enclosed by y equals to x-axis. The line is y equals to 2. So let's try to graph it. Okay, y equals to 2 is means it is here. Okay. Now the curve y square, y equals to root x. Okay, now the curve y equals to root x, we already know that it is certain kind of like this, right? So which curve we want to find out, not the below one. The shaded part will be this part. The shaded part would be this part. Now it is rotated. This graph is rotated along x equals to -2. So where is -2? The -2 is here. So this line is actually the axis of revolution. So when it will revolve, so it would be certain like this. So the line is vertical. So we all know that when the line is vertical, it means our equation should be written in the form of x equals to f of y. And how do we read this? The volume. The volume we should write as pi farther square minus near square, or outer region square minus lower region square, and dy. Now let's try to understand this part. So this is the axis of revolution, right? So what is the farthest one? Okay, so the farthest one is here. And we go from left to right, so it's correct. Okay, so what is this distance? This distance from here to here, it is 2. Distance cannot be -2. Distance should be +2. Plus this part means from here till here, or from here till here, or from here till here, the part is, the farthest one is 2 plus what? Root x. But we don't write root x, we will write the equation in the form of y. So it is y square, whole square, minus the nearest one. What is the nearest one? Nearest one is this line. So what is the distance from here till here? It is 2. Dy. Now dy, it means take the y value. So what is the y value here? 0, and here is 2. So 0 till 2. So I hope that this part must be clear to you, that how do we write the answer. So now the answer would be 53.617. So let's try to understand the next question. Now the other questions you just write in the calculator yourself, and I will just try to explain. And these are the questions which were given in AP Calculus exams, maybe from 2010 till 2008. So I have collected different questions and summarized over here according to the concept. So let R be the region in the first quadrant bounded by the graph y equals to 2 square root x as shown in the figure. The horizontal line is y equals to 6. So you can see this line is actually y equals to 6, and find the y-axis as shown in the figure. Find the volume of the solid generated and rotated about the horizontal line y equals to 7. So where is 7? 7 is somewhere here. Okay, so somewhere here is y. Okay, so what is the how can we calculate? We already wrote. It means that it will rotate along the horizontal line. Horizontal line means that y should be written in the form of y equals to f of x. And what is the formula? The formula is pi outer square or farther square minus nearer square, and everything will written in the form of d of x. Okay, so from the axis of rotation, what is the farthest one? So the farthest one is the curve. But also I told you that we cannot go from down to up. We have to go from we cannot go from up to down. We have to go from up to down to up, which means that this part is left behind. Whether we go from here or go from there or go from there, this part is left behind. So from here till here, the distance is what? The distance is 7 and minus the curve. And what is the curve? The curve is 2 square root of x minus the nearest one. The nearest one is this one, right? So from here till here, you can see also that it is 6, or you can say that all from down to up, okay? So the total distance is 7 minus 6. So in both the cases, you can read in any way. Now what are the limits? The limits should be x values. So from where till where? From 0 till 9. From 0 till 9. Now you can write in the calculator and get the answer. Next question. Now here understand the value of the y is given. Horizontal line y equals to 6 is given. Vertical line x equals to 2 is given. And you have to find the volume of the solid when it is revolved along the horizontal line y equals to 8. So again here 7 and here 8. So this is the line which has to be read. So it means that the graph will move in this way, which means the equation should be written in the form of y equals to f of x. Now what we have to do? We have to write the volume equals to pi farther square minus nearer square, and since it is written in the form of x, so we will write here dx. Okay, now farther from here till here, the farther is this curve, but we go from down to up. So the distance from here till here 8 minus this curve. So what is the curve? The curve is 4 ln of 3 minus x. Okay, let's write it in the properly. Okay. So I will write here 8 minus 4 ln of 3 minus x close power 2 minus, and now the nearest one. So the nearest one is this line, right? So this line is 6. This line is, the y value is 6. So from where till where? The distance from here till here is 8. 8 minus this curve. So it will be 8 minus 6. Now what are the x values or the limits? So from 0 till 2. From 0 to 2. Next question. Now here there are two graphs given. Y equals to square root x and y equals to half x or x over 2. And the horizontal line y equals to 6 is given. The vertical line x equals to 2 is given. Find the volume of the solid generated when r is revolved about the horizontal line y equals to 2. So it means you have to see here. This graph will move around the y equals to 2. Okay, so again the axis of rotation will be like this. So your question will be written in the form of y equals to f of x. So volume equals to pi farthest square minus nearest square, and it would be written in the form of d of x. Now here again, what is the farthest part? The farthest part is this one. So this is a straight line, so I can understand that this is y equals to x over 2 actually. So all the way from here till here, it is 2 minus the equation of line, that is x over 2. Then minus nearest one. Again nearest one, all the way from here till here, it is 2 minus the nearest graph, that is square root of x. So I hope now the concept of farther and nearest is understood to you. Okay, in this question they are saying that let R be the region in the first quadrant bounded by the graph y equals to square root x and y equals to x over 3. Find the volume of the solid generated by when R is revolved about the vertical line x equals to negative 1. So how can we try to solve this question? Now understand, in this question try to visualize at least the graph, how it would look like. Okay, just visualizing, not by scale we are trying to make it. Y equals to square root x, it looks like something like that, right? Y equals to x over 3, it would look like a straight line. Also they are saying that x equals to negative 1. It means here is the negative 1, which is the axis of rotation in this case. It means that the graph will revolve like this along a vertical line. If it is revolving along the vertical line, the equation should be written in the form of x equals to f of y. Now, how can we write the formula? V equals to pi farther power 2 minus nearest square and dy. And here we will write the y values. Okay, so how can we do? Farther, okay, so the far from the negative 1. Now look at this. This is the axis of revolution. So from here till here, this line is the farthest one. What is the equation of the line? Since it has to be written in the form of x equals to y by 3. So let's try to change this thing. Y equals to root x. Taking the square on both sides, we will get x equal to y square. For the second equation, y equals to x over 3. If we cross multiply, we will get 3y. So the farthest one is 3y. But can you see from here till here, the distance from the axis of revolution till the 0 is 1. The distance cannot be negative. So 1 plus 3y. And now similarly, the distance from here till here is 1, and all the way to this curve, the equation of the curve is y square. So it would be 1 plus y square. Write it in the calculator and get the answer. Next question. Let R be the region in the second quadrant bounded by the graph y equals to 20 over 1 plus x square and below by the horizontal line y equals to 2. Find the volume of the solid generated when it is rotated around x-axis. So again, when it is around x-axis, we have to write the equation in the form of f of x. And since it is only one graph, okay, so it is only one graph and the other line is 2. So what you will write? You will write volume equals to pi. Okay, now first of all, find out the point of intersection. So point of intersection, we make the first equation equals to the second equation. Cross multiply, 1 plus x square goes on the top and this 2 comes down, which will gives me 10 equals to 1 plus x square. Bring the 1 on the other side. So 10 minus 1 will gives me 9. I take the square root on both sides. I will get plus minus 3. So my limits will be negative 3 till 3. Then the graphs. So 20 over 1 plus x square whole square minus 2 whole square dx. Now remember one thing, I told you before also that the answer should be positive. And I told you if the answer will not be positive, don't get scared, don't get upset, don't get confused. Just interchange the values or interchange the function's position. And that's all. If in case I am not solving for you in the calculator, you just try to find out because we are doing this work also without the graph. That's why just check answer should be positive. If the answer is not positive, interchange the places of the functions.